Alright y'all, what's up? Blake here for the Little Regret channel, as you might have known. Hope everyone's doing well today. Not often that I come on a Saturday. But you know what, we're feeling so relaxed, we're feeling so ready. I figured I might as well go ahead and do it. So I hope you guys are doing great today. And if you're wondering what we're going to be doing, you should probably read the title. But we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at some of the replays that are going to be going on. Or that have been, past tense, have been gone on, that have happened. English. Gotta love English. So, I've got a huge backlog of replays, dating as far back as like early 2022 from when the game launched, that I need to get rid of. So, I didn't realize there were like multiple pages of replays I had to go through. So, I'm going to go ahead and start just working my way through as quickly as I humanly can. There's a couple of things I really wanted to tend to in terms of which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones I'm going to kind of keep. There are a couple I happened upon last stream that I ended up actually not deleting. And the whole goal of this entire project is to delete replays and make more space so that I can save more replays, so I have more space to actually kind of exist on my profile, and also so that the game does not crash as frequently. So I'm going to try and make sure that happens. But with all that said, I think that's pretty clear in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to go ahead and flip right on over to the game screen. And I'm really glad to share space, so hopefully this all works out well. It's also somewhat a test stream to see if my internet connection is going to be holding up just fine or not. I've had some issues more recently where because my streaming PC and my PlayStation are kind of competing for the same bandwidth, sometimes they will have a tendency to take down the entire network. And if that happens, I want to make sure that I'm aware of it. So I decided to do a replay stream today instead of doing a full driving stream. Also, I've had a couple drinks, so you know, make sure you guys don't drink and drive. If you're gonna drink and drive, make sure it's simulated drinks and simulated driving. These were not simulated drinks I had. They were very real drinks. So you gotta be responsible. Make sure that you don't disrupt other people's races. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and jump right on in. We're gonna take a look at some of these replays. I'd love to go through and analyze a lot of what's really going on with the technique, full stop, and then really start to look at the racing. But I think that the format for this is we're going to probably take the first couple of laps, look at what's going on with the technique, take a look at the first couple of laps, look at what's going on with the technique and some of the whys on that, and then we're gonna start to get into the actual racing itself. I kind of wanted to do it the other way around, because obviously when you first start the race, everyone's close, everyone's packed up, and it's easier to kind of make a quick assertion on like, okay, well this is the racing over here on the one hand, and then this is the actual technique that's going into the driving, once everyone's spaced out a little bit. However, I do think it's important to really establish where everything's at. I'm going to try and cover a little bit of both up top. We'll see. So, this one, let's go to our display on, starting 14th out of 16 drivers. And again, this is like literally a month after the game had launched, so this is very, very early days. My ratings and everything were intact, but the game state was in a very different place. There goes the lights. And we're off, and there's not really much to report here, but everyone's obviously on their way down to every favorite sim racer's place, turn 1 at Monza. So let's see if we can see any carnage up on the map ahead. Sorry, two people are trying to set up too wide. Go back to ourselves, on the brakes before the 100 board. Nice and early, and I slip out a little bit going over that curve because I try to straddle it. Don't think the car liked that too much. And I got a half-second penalty. Happens, you know? Take too many liberties. Still very much just sat in line, but I think the main thing that I needed to do there was really just be careful. Like, I can brake a little bit later even, but also just be very careful with the track limits. Yellow flag's already out, so you want to be wise, be mindful. And I remember early on, the game was really, really, really draconian about the whole penalty system. Again, a couple of places for free there. Obviously, there's a lot going on. People got taken out, people got spun off. And that's just what it is. And everyone's kind of just driving. We're all getting settled in still. This is at a point when I feel like the physics system was still very, very tough to get on with in some ways. And even though we're in 10th already and we've got a healthy gap to the cars behind, half a second of penalty is not going to help that equation. Going up here to Scar Chicane, you're going to brake right after that little marker board for the signboard for the flags. Up to 4th early, and I get that little sausage curve, and that really unsettles the car. I stayed flat in it, and I just used my steering to kind of correct, but I could have been smarter if I didn't have full throttle in there as I was going over the curve. Wouldn't have kicked out the car as much. But no one coming up from behind, so we're going to go and keep on pressing into the next lap. And the main thing is you really, really want to do a good job of preserving your speed around here. It's a temple of speed. You know, we got Formula 1, maybe you heard of it, racing around here tomorrow. You got to really, really maximize every little bit you can on straightaways. Of course, we're in a high-speed, low-downforce setup. Not setup, but you know, the balance of performance where you couldn't adjust any of the settings. Second gear did not help there. You notice how I stayed in second gear the entire way through. I was a little worried about losing the back end of the car, but second felt like it kind of created more understeer than anything. So that was not helpful. And already quite a gap has emerged. Did I brake just before the 100 this time? And it's still about okay. Mind you, this is all still in a very, very old physics engine. You know, we're in update 149 now. This is probably like update 1.06 or something. So the way the cars behave in this replay and the way the cars behave now, very different. 5-lap race. We're just getting into the second lap. You can also see there's a lot of fuel burn going on already. The car is already close to like 90% in terms of fuel, despite the fact that we've only been driving for 3.5 minutes. Trying to get a little bit of a cleaner run through the Scar Chicane this time. Didn't hit the sausage curve. Much, much better in terms of how the car behaved. But you've also probably already noticed something, that the cars ahead, a lot of them are Mazda Atenzas. Mazda Atenza, Mazda Atenza, Mazda Atenza, Mazda Atenza, Mazda 6 if you want. If that's what you prefer. It's not this is a bad car. It's actually a pretty solid car in terms of straight line speed, but it just wasn't keeping up in the same way at the time. I don't really know what would be the car of choice nowadays, but it would probably be something like the Huracan. Yeah, it seems like halfway between the 150 and 100. And I also think there was less of a need to be really delicate on the brakes coming off of them, whereas like now, in the current update, you gotta really be careful with your trail braking. There was less of that going on. You keep it tight through Curva Grande. There's really not a whole lot going on up here. You got some people who've got massive penalties and some people who went off at the chicane, as you can see. We inherited 9th. I think the guy who spun off exited the race. Curious to see what happened there. Let's see if we can see it. So yeah, just spun off on their own. How's that? Got a little bit of either the outside curb or Sausage. Cars came around. And kind of the other bit of trouble to note here with the race itself is that you can see the cars ahead, they're in a bit of a draft train. And like in a circuit like Monza, if you know how to work together, that's super important. Just being able to work with the people around you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Because then you're not worried about defending, you're not worried about attacking. You can just take your corner speed as you would, but you also get the draft benefit. And that guy with a 3.5-second penalty, falling back, falling in line. The Formula. And the brakes are at the 100. You can see I did trail off pretty good there, actually. Did a solid job. You can see I'm a little bit closer to 8th than I was ever in 7th. Or formerly 8th. In Optimus Prime. Which, hilarious name, by the way. And I wasn't shifting up to 6th there, I was just keeping in 5th. Car kind of liked it. Am I going to stay in 2nd here? Yes, I am. I was too afraid of spinning the car. And that's because, again, I did actually get the rear end to rotate a little bit on exit there. The cars were a lot more snap happy in these early updates. They really, really like to move around more. So you had to be really careful. You had to tread carefully with all that. Because a little too much aggression could put you completely into the wall. Straddle that one. Got a good exit out too. And it looks like 7th and 8th are battling now. The trouble is, I'm still kind of in no man's land. You gotta really work to catch them. Yeah, no, and that's the thing, is that, like, you have to be aware that, like, there is no choice but to work together on a lot of these. There is no choice. So what are you gonna do? So I'm just not there in terms of slipstream. You can see that they're getting like 149, 150 in terms of VMAX. And I was only hitting about 146, so there's not a giant deficit in terms of straight line speed, but obviously a deficit. Very obvious deficit. We've also burned off almost a quarter of our fuel tank within the space of 8 minutes. Which is, again, nutty. But things were different back then. But yeah, I can speak to that matter. I definitely drove very differently way back when. One of these updates, I think, at some point last year. Excuse me. One of these updates last year, it definitely got to a point where, like, okay, you can actually, like, really hustle the car around now and manhandle it a little bit. Ooh, big curb drop. Just got the car a little bit up and then it fell right on down and did not like that sudden fall down. Yeah, that was not a good brake trace going into Les Mel 1. It was too quick of a brake. It was almost like I dropped the brake too quickly. Also, not sure what happened to this guy. Let's see. Let's see the wound. So fighting for second. Starts playing very stupid games with the car in third. Starts playing incredibly stupid games with the car in third. Like, look at the amount of room that he leaves him. And basically, that didn't make a whole lot of sense in context looking at it from that view, but when you look at it from over here, like, he had no room to get back on the track, and he needed to get back on the track. So he basically said, fuck you, I'm fighting for it. Supposed to be also doing a better job of not cursing today, but whatever. and lost out quite a bit. And definitely trying to get a little bit defensive. Checks me up pretty hard. And I feel like I got a better run, but for what it's worth, I don't know. There's a little bit going on here. I gotta stay with the slipstream as long as I humanly can, especially with that deficit. That guy knows he's gonna try and weave and keep me out of it. Also, for whatever reason, everyone slowed up there. I try to really hang it out. Try to really hang it out to try and stay with him. And I'm still confused as to how he got a 0.5. Oh, I guess he ran wide out here. Yep. 4 tires off. So even though, like, you can kind of read this one, I'm not going to make that pass. There's no way I'm making that pass. And I got a pass done for the line, and I got the position off of Falcon because they had the penalty. So let's see what's going on with the penalty line stuff. So Moose had half a second, Big Ice had 2 seconds, Gator had half a second. So yeah, the penalty system was a very different beast back then. And if you look at that one, watch this, kids. 5-second penalty for bumping someone off the track. 5 seconds, immediate, no holds barred. Penalty system used to be a very different animal. So that's 5 seconds right there. That's why they slowed down. Not sure why Gavman had a 1 second. But they'd had it for a bit, I guess. At any rate, not really my business. Again, not really sure why Gator had a half second either. It might have been from Red Affilio or something. I think Spartan made contact somewhere in all of this. 1 second. What? What was that about? Let me see if he cuts the inside of the corner here. I'm very... No! What on earth was that penalty for then? Just 1 second just cuz? I don't know if that was a pump fake or if that was genuinely like, whatever you do, I'm going to block your path. But whatever it was successful. He staved off my momentum. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. So yeah, we started catching all of them up because everyone had a bunch of penalty. It's ironic, you know, that the Red Atenza missed out. Okay, so that was deliberate. They gave the position back. That was what that was. They gave that position back as a show of good sportsmanship, which I can respect that. I can respect that. We got 7th out of that one after starting 14th. Gonna absolutely delete that replay. There's nothing special going on there. That was a very boring race to watch, if I'm honest. Not a bad race on my part, no sir, but not a whole lot. I can speak to this one and say I know that I came 2nd, so I was probably proud of it, but was it a good race to watch? First damn place. Let's find out. Because some of the races I save because I'm proud of the result and it was a good race or whatever. Some of them I save because it was a really, really heated battle or whatever. And some of them I just save because I need to learn something from them. I did bad. I need to learn what I did wrong and review these replays. I actually kind of saved them for this exact purpose, so I could come back to them later and analyze that. We got Pedro Rolon in this one. Great driver. Turn our HUD back on. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to not dox everyone as hard. You can still see names over there on the tower, but I'm not even going to worry about it. Give them some grace and all that. Anyways, here come the lights, starting in P6. And the great thing about this Corvette is I get so much pull optically. And again, still early days. Very easy to spin these cars at this point in time. Particularly the MRs and the high torque cars. They are much less planted. You can see I gotta run. I gotta run. Ooh, I get balked by that WRX. Can't really do anything with it. I feel kind of silly because they have some shenanigans going on back there. And this is a race C, you can tell, just because of the lap count. I don't think there's any pit stops that were necessary, but we definitely had to just kind of tough it out. I think it's something of a headache, to be honest. Didn't really want to admit it, but yeah. Anyways, pretty good battle so far. Like, nothing's popping off yet. Everyone's still kind of line astern because that's the way you kind of want to be at this point in time. You don't want to be fighting unnecessarily, especially when it's so easy to lose a position. That track position is really, really valuable. So if you can make those easy moves all day long. But if it's going to take you a significant amount of effort or time to make a move happen, then don't do it, you know? Get some help. Stop it. Get some help. 2.0 second for the car in third. Not sure what happened there, actually. Oh, kill shot. Giant kill shot. Push the car in second off. Got the 2-second penalty for it. Moves over. What is he to do? And now it's really popping off. I'm just gonna wait behind, because why try and force this issue right now? Except for the fact they're not taking the apex. That's really annoying. Take the damn apex. Ooh, shoot. Another kill shot. And I'm just gonna come up off all that chaos, because why not? Everyone else is messing around, playing games, being silly. I'll have some of that. So it seems like it's a connection issue. Definitely seems like it's a connection issue for that guy. Because, like, look at how this all plays out. Oh yeah, absolutely a connection issue. Those 1 bar and 2 bars are not fun to mess around with. But the good news is they had to get around him before they could get to me, which gave me quite a bit of buffer. Blue and orange McLaren. Golly, what is wrong with me today? That blue and orange McLaren now behind, but I've got a little bit of buffer. And I got clear track ahead, so like, it's kind of an ideal scenario. So let's take a look at the technique really quick. What's going on? What are the pedals doing? So coming up to turn 3, I'm gonna spot our reference point just for the 100-meter board. Hard on the brakes, gear down as quickly as I can. Drop the brakes relatively quickly. I didn't trail off any kind of special, and if I try to drive it like that in this update, it would have probably understeered on me. Yeah, snap boy. Something. I don't know. I think I might make this a short one. I'm gonna try and get to like an hour, maybe, in terms of the stream. Like, if we can stream for an hour, I'll be happy. But if I keep yawning like this for the next, you know, half of the stream, then there's no point in me even trying. It's gonna be over. Maybe just go on to sleep. And then penultimate corner. And brake just after the 100 board. Down to third. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight, and then you can bring it all the way out to the outside. This is where you want to really maximize your track usage. Don't hit that yellow thing on the inside of the corner. It's not going to help you. And if you try and straddle it, you're going to get a penalty. Especially at this point of the game's life cycle. Brake just after the 100. Same thing here for the first corner, but you really want to maximize that exit just because of how long this straight is over here. This is the longest straight on the course, obviously. Yeah, getting all that figured out. And I definitely trailed off the. I'm starting to trail off the brakes a little bit later to try and manage the car, but sometimes that's not always how it goes. And short shifting also helps too. Also, I just want to say I missed it on the last stream on Thursday. I wanted to shout out Ola Akinola. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. I didn't see it at the time. Nothing's popping up in terms of my dashboard. I think that Streamlabs is having a moment. Because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It was correctly filtering websites out, but it was not doing any of the sound alerts for whatever reason. So I'm not sure why that was. But you can also see I'm starting to get caught up by the pack behind. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those kind of races that feels a little bit hopeless at this point. Just because I'm really not making any headway on the leaders. But that's how it feels sometimes. Sometimes you're just in the car and you're like, oh, I don't see that gap coming down, or you see them getting further and further away from you. And the funny thing is that once you're in the race, the best thing you can do for yourself, rather than say, oh, I'm gonna, toughen up and add more grit, is just settle down, relax, go back into your flow state. Don't change anything. Because if they're faster than you, they're faster than you. And that's that. You trying to change things is usually not going to help so much as it's going to hurt. So let it be. Very consistent on the lap times too. 130.8, 130.6, 130.7. They're all within, they're all within 1500ths of a second. It's pretty nutty. Also, I was not paying attention. Something happened. Oh, yep. I guess it was P1 or P2. Spun out here. Yep. It's that little bit. It just spun out on the exit of the corner. So I'll pass their little WRX, and that'll be that. Also, the WRX being a strong car in the meta. What a time. What a time. So yeah, but you can see how far away first place is. So I'd have to be doing a pretty darn good back half of the race just to be able to catch him. That's already like over 5 seconds in terms of the deficit. But more importantly, it's just not enough race to catch them. Like, they can make mistakes. Anything can happen. You know, the race ain't over till it's over. But it's always tough to close those. You can also see I'm trying to short shift a little bit, though for what I'm not sure. Because there's no way I'm going to run out of fuel, and there's no way the tires are going to fall off. I don't know. You try to always do that, you know, like do a good job of just like, once a car has really started to slow down, try to trail off and get the car enough grip to really start turning. It's tough though. It's very tough to understand exactly where the limit's at. And stay on it. What the hell, man? I've been yawning like a MS. Like, I don't feel tired. I did wake up early this morning, like much earlier than usual, by a couple hours, but like, it shouldn't be like that, man. I don't think. But yeah, you can kind of see where the cadence of this race is going. If we look back a little bit further on the Apex car, you can see that the lap times are right there, right in and around. Like, I'm doing 30.5, they're doing 30.6, and they're also quite consistent, lap on lap. Ooh, but that car is sketchy. Sketchy, sketchy, sketchy. I don't know anything about what the cars around me are doing. I'm just kind of I'm watching the gaps during the race itself. Though I wouldn't say you should be watching the gaps. But I'm just doing that for my, you know, I can't help it. For my own sake. Keeping the gears low. Not really short shifting so much as I'm just keeping the car in higher gears through the mid corner. Really trying to manage how the car behaves. Get it to turn in late here. Didn't quite hit the apex that corner. There was you could go further to the inside. There's an inside of that corner. And I do feel like you could definitely get the car to understeer or oversteer pretty easily at this moment in time. Oh wow, it's looking at 11th or 12th. They got really out of shape, but they gathered it up. But they're also lagging really badly. Yeah, 4 laps to go. And you gotta really do a great job of getting your brake release perfect so you can get the car to rotate as much on the nose as you can without going that inch too far. And really get the power on early, because none of these corners are sustained constant radius, which is why Red Bull Ring is a very low downforce track, because you don't have any corners where you're spending a large amount of time cornering. They're all just like point and shoot kind of turns. Like, look at the turn coming up. It's just a very, oh, my bad. Yeah, I'll use my cursor. Just point it in, and then the exit opens up, shoot it out. These next two turns, these next two left-handers are really the only sustained corners on the course. You spend more than like a full second turning the car. And again, you can see how out of shape it's getting. It doesn't want to be there. It doesn't want to go. Just like a me. Okay. Yeah, this one's more or less a done deal. First, second, third, you can see how big that gap is to the cars behind. So it's still when I was repping base 51. But yeah, it's kind of deterministic at this stage. I'm going to look at what the McLaren's doing in terms of their braking inputs. Keeping a higher percentage of the brake in the car through turn 1 than I usually would do. Hard to say always, but usually. And also definitely getting the car up onto the up on the outside curving on the brakes, because it doesn't really hurt the cars on GT. It really doesn't. Like on iRacing, sometimes it has a negative effect, and there's some simulators where it does have a negative effect, but GT is not one of them. Right on the brakes, right at 100. Yeah, we can kind of see where this thing's going, though. You can see that there's not a whole lot of tire burn now, and we're only going to be probably about halfway through the fuel tank by the time the race is even over. So 2 more laps to go. And for this guy, it's already been quite a quiet affair. He's just, you know, getting his 1 minute 30s on. What could we potentially do differently? Oh my goodness, excuse me. You can see he's like straddling all the way over. Like, that's something that I only started doing more recently, is like going all the way, or cutting all the way over to the left, so you can really utilize all the track. You can see that like that was something that he's like immediately started doing, like going as far over as the track limits will let him. I think if you put even a fraction of a tire up on the fraction of your right hand tires on the curb for that braking zone, you will get an off track. So a lot of people don't mess with it. But on turn 1, you can go all the way out there. So yeah, this was a good result, but it was also a very boring race, ultimately. So that sucks. Because, I mean, I can already tell you that nothing is going to happen between now and the finish. Let's see what we do coming up here. What notes would I give myself? Go out wider on the entry so that I can get more speed through. Not even sure what the fuck happened there. Looked like I got scared and backed out of it. Yeah, I got scared I was going to run wide, and I was like, I don't need a half-second penalty right now. It's the last thing I need. Which is probably the smartest thing I thought all decade, but you know what, whatever. Again, right on 100, but the main thing I'm leaving on the table here is I'm not using every bit of the track limit. And it's partly a fear and not practicing enough thing. I'd say more not practicing enough and less fear. And yeah, like look at how much, hold on, I'm gonna go back. Show you all that one. Look at how much track on the left-hand side is available for me to use. Look at how much real estate there is. I'm on the brakes. I am now officially on the brakes. Look at how much further over to the left I could be. Oh, I can rotate the camera like that. Dope. All of this good, juicy real estate. I could at least have my left-hand tires up on the outside curb, or even just a little bit closer, damn it. But instead, no, I'm all the way out here. And like, it's the end of the race, who cares? But, you know, like, that's a big part of why I ended up so far in second, and not, you know, in contention for the lead. So you gotta be mindful of these things. You gotta learn. You gotta figure that out. Because it's safe in GT. You can do it. You can get away with it. So what do you do when it's safe? You do it. You get away with it. You try it. You mess with Golly, Bob. Anyways, I'm gonna see what the next couple races are. I doubt we're gonna do more than like 4 or 5 replays for this stream, just on account of how I'm feeling. I'm tempted to even take a break right after this one, or just go grab like a fizzy drink of some kind. But I'm not certain, you know. I've not made a decision yet. I'm gonna think about it. Even though the replay's already almost over, there's really nothing else to say. Same notes though. Just needed to use a lot more of the track. Wasn't using all of the track. There's also a small possibility I was in the cockpit camera, and when that is the case, it's a little harder to see those margins, but like not that hard. So yeah, but we ended that one out in second. It was a relatively tame race, otherwise, relatively speaking. Nah, add that shit to my collection. I don't care. Yo. That's kind of hot. Kachiga. People are funny. I don't even often go to the showcase tab, so like I don't even see the discover section all that much. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see all this. So I like seeing people make stuff and see it, you know, come off really good. Some cool stuff out there. Anyway, before I get too distracted, before I start yawning again. Ooh wee. The rain. Okay. That's the one we just viewed, so let's go ahead and delete that. That seems to be the same race. I'll spare myself the trouble. Nations Cup, interesting. What was that? Yeah, that was the same day. So I saved this one at 152 that day. I saved this one at 120 at 222. So these were back-to-back races. These two were back-to-back, second and third. Probably very same story, very similar story. I won't even mess with it. So let's look at this Nations Cup race. Let's see what happened. Group 2 cars, Suzuka, one of my favorite tracks. And we'll probably call this the last one. We'll also try and, once the race settles, we'll start to take a look at the technique. So I think that, yeah, we'll look at the race itself first. We'll let the race settle. We'll narrate that. And then once the race does settle, we'll start to analyze more of the technique as we get into it. So I think that's just a better, an overall better way of formatting it. Better decorum. You know? You gotta do it for the decorum. Also, you gotta love how everyone was in the exact same car for this. All of us in the GTR Nismo, except for one poor soul in the NSX. But they also still managed to finish like 5th or 6th, I think. Oh, we qualified 3rd for this one, so plenty to see. So let's see how the shape of the race kind of forms up. We got 15 laps, roughly a minute 50, give or take. So let's see it on Racing Soft Tires. As we get through the first corner, looks like there's no real drama. Can't even see anything on the mini-map that looks remotely wrong, though I can see there are probably a couple people who are more bunched up than not. We're already checking up right behind the second place car. And you know what that means? That means we can either make a move soon or we can settle in. We have options. But, obviously, we don't have too much time to think about it because we still got a car directly behind that pink GTR back there. Oh my god, yeah. The short shift in this car, legendary on the soft tires. Because it just wouldn't kick out. It wouldn't get phased as it started to build boost. As I started to go really hard into that corner for whatever reason. You could rotate these cars a lot. Especially like in the older updates. A lot. Before they really let go. And on the brakes right at the 100 board. Just about get slowed down in time. Use every bit of the track at the Casio triangle. And on to a new lap. So we've already kind of settled in. We made our pass stick. Just a good run off the Dunlop hairpin is all we needed. I didn't even brake for turn 1. I mainly braked for turn 2. That's what I had to do. And the keen-eyed among you will also notice that the car in front has a big ol' honkin' GT3 wing on it. But our car has the smaller, shorter chord, standard Super GT wing. Whereas this guy's trying to stand out from the crowd, as you can see. And like, there's a lot more I can be doing with track limits here. Like, I'm definitely trying to be somewhat safe because it is a race. It is a high-stakes race, being nations. I could have done so much more, though. And I do like to keep it in the power band there, though. So I kept it in first, going through the hairpin that time around. I think a lot of times, though, when you're trying to really focus on other cars and you have other shit going on, better to just short shift and give yourself one less thing to think about. Oh, and there they go. Yep, good old spoon curve, taking one for the team. Dancing in the street. Let's look at the arrow. Dancing in the street. So just out a little too wide. Was not trying to be a hero about it. Definitely was not trying to be a hero about it. Just the car snapped, it seemed, because they were very much out of the throttle. Is what the telemetry was showing, so shrug. So clearly this is a result I was proud of, but I don't think it was a very interesting race to talk about. There's one good move that's happened in the first 2 laps, and I think it's going to stay that way. And like I can already see now that I'm in the lead, I've backed off a little bit. I've been a bit more careful and really tried to make a concerted effort not to push the car overly hard while still getting pace from it. So I got gap. It's like 3 seconds plus to the car behind, but I got to maintain it. Anyways, since this one's already settling in pretty early, I'm going to try and take you guys around for a guided lap. Then we're going to try and break apart specific corners after that and go from there. And if we see any action happen on the mini-map, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. As you can see, this gap ain't going nowhere unless we make a mistake. And I don't remember if there was a mistake to be had. A little bit too much wheel on the grass there. Didn't help anything. Slowed down how quickly I can get on power there. But that's how it is. And of course, you're flat through 130R when you have this much downforce. Spot the 100-meter board. Hard on the brakes just beforehand. Use a little bit of that Astro on both sides of this triangle. And just be very nice and tidy on the way out. Let it come out to the left-hand side since we're not at the end of the race. 148.961. Stay on the left-hand side as you're coming down. Like I said, you're not going to brake. You're just going to lift at the 50. And get on the brakes as you're nearing the apex for turn 1 so you can get the car slowed for turn 2. Be very easy getting back on power. You're going to go through the S's and you're going to really charge the first corner, and you're going to start slowing down for the second one going to the right. You can keep it in 4th, but I start to gear down to 3rd here just so I can get my rotation, or not. Oh, I was trying to save fuel. I was definitely fuel saving, and that's a smart idea. Coming up and around, you gotta be careful not to run out too wide there. Once you are clear, you're just gonna bring it on over to the left so you can get Degner 1 and 2 right brake before the 50 board. Make sure you get a little bit more of that apex. There was an apex there. And get a good drive off Degner 2, even though it's not a long straightaway. It is an important run to make, and there's time to be had there. Brake just for the end of the curb on the right. I'm gonna get the car all the way in. Could have gone a little bit more there. But you can see I'm really just trying to be careful and calculated with where I'm placing the car, though I'm leaving a little bit on the table and so doing. Braking after the access road there, and before the end of the curb for spoon 2. Come out, but not too far to the right. You put a couple of wheels up on the curb as you come out to the exit, and you're coming down, 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 down. 130Rs, next corner coming up. Pick up your speed, 6th gear. As you come under these blue gantries, you're going to start making your turn in. Stay flat out. Spot that 100-meter board again. Brake just before it. Good old bite out of the Casio triangle. I missed that time. I still got that second piece of Astro. If you're coming down for a final lap, you can come down and hug the right-hand side as you come across the line. That lap was a 49.8. Made a couple of mistakes. Not the tidiest in the world. But yeah, turn 1. Hard commitment, huge commitment, because you're turning and then all of a sudden you're very much not turning and you're on the brakes, you're on the anchors, and the car does not like when you're braking and turning at the same time, so you got to pick one. So you got to be very decisive with that in these faster cars, Group 2s and Group 1s, where you got the downforce to compensate for it. Another small thing that I've already noticed is that we're definitely not going to be able to make it all the way through on 1 tank of gas. We're about 2/3 fuel right now, but we're only about 1/3 of the way through the race. Actually, it might be close, but I can already tell based on the state of play with the tires, there's no chance we're making it through without a pit stop. So if I had to guess as to where I'm going to pit, I'd probably say lap 8 or 9. You don't want to leave it too long. It's just a one-stopper because you don't want to have one stint where you're significantly worse in terms of your times. But also, you want the car to be as light as possible, and in order to do that, you want to pit later rather than earlier. I've not been watching the track map super closely though, so I apologize if I missed any action. Yeah, you see the car started to get away from me a little bit, and I just gathered it up, got lucky to center up immediately, and just got right back on the power. And a lot of that's muscle memory and also luck. Muscle memory and luck together. You can tell I'm slowing down. Like, I'm slowing down my driving, I'm being careful. I've got gap. I really don't need to fight that hard, so I'm just being as careful as I can at this point. Because the more tires I can save, the better. The other thing is you can see that I'm burning more tires than the cars behind. Orange GTR here has done a better job preserving their tires. And the one behind them has done an even better job preserving fuel compared to both of us. But they're on mediums. So that's part of why the pace deficit is as big as it is. Ooh, yeah, I really messed up there. And that's the thing. You make one small mistake in the Dunlop hairpin, it really does come back to bite you. Because it's a tough corner to make. But if you can use that curb to good effect, and you can get some of your tires up there, just one, maybe even two of your inside tires, you're doing a good job. You're doing fine. There's nothing you need to worry about. But yeah, I mean, I would probably be thinking anywhere between lap 7 and lap 9. But I would pit later, like, if you're in this kind of scenario where you have it all, like, it's all to lose for me. Like, I am in a position of relative privilege because I am not fighting anyone behind. I've got clear air ahead, and the car is feeling good. You pit later. You do not pit early. You pit later. In Gran Turismo, if everything's looking good and you're feeling good, you go long. Because, well, I wouldn't even say in Gran Turismo necessarily. If you're in an online race where you have damage enabled and anything can go wrong and you're in the thick of it, you pit later, just in case something does happen. So that way, like, if I pick up damage immediately and it's a heavy damage race, so the car won't automatically self-repair itself, I can just go, I can duck into the pits for my required stop and stem the bleeding from that damage immediately. Rather than having to, you know, just put a band-aid on it and hope for the best. I don't know if they're going to like that analogy all that much. I can definitely tell that the car is not as cooperative with me as I would want it to be. The car was not as cooperative with me as I would have wanted it to be at that time. But the good news is that the race is still on. So, with that said, since there's so much talk of a race, I'm going to see when we pit, but otherwise I'm going to start watching some other battles going on in the midfield. But like I said, we got fuel. Tires haven't fallen off yet. Oh, no, I ducked in early. But that was because I was on the soft tire, you know? Like, there was not much benefit to staying out too much later. But if, knowing me now, I would have tried to stretch that out a little bit longer. I would have tried to stretch that out a little longer, for sure. And Hemi is thinking probably exactly that. I'm going to stretch out longer. I'm going to get the overcut. It's going to work. But even coming out of the pits, I'm in no real threat to anyone. Got a car behind that NSX with a Takata livery. But they have not come into pit yet, and they're also on worn mediums, whereas I'm on fresh mediums, and they've burned more fuel. Looks like I did not take any fuel there during that stop. Zero, zilch, nada. You can see it's slippery, it's sloppy, it's a slope. Whoa! I didn't even remember that. Let's go ahead and see what happened there. With me, I was talking so much shit about how the car was so good and how I had so much buffer. And then I just drove out there. So y'all saw that. I'm sure y'all saw that. Alright, so we got a good amount of that inside curve. The car's cooperating with us. We feel there's a lot of confidence. I can tell you after all those missed apexes and everything, I would be feeling confident after that when the car is responding to what I'm doing. If I turn and it turns, I'm feeling confident. So we get in, we get the apex, we're turning, we're still in third gear. We keep it in third gear, why not? Still in third gear. Still hard on the steering. Very hard on the steering. We'll go frame by frame from here. I am now have tires up on curb and AstroTurf. Left front's almost out on the Astro. Left rear is on the curb. freeze frame a little more. Still full on the gas. Car has made that little dip. Oh, and you can see that weight transfer right there. And that's exactly when it started yawing on me. And then this turned into a passenger slide real quick. And I try to catch it, tank slapper. What a shame. But that's what happens when you try and stay in it. Like, the smart thing for me to do there, lift out of the throttle, straighten up the steering as much as I can. Those were my options, and I would have been wise to do both of them. I did neither. Try to stay in it. And as soon as the car started to snap, I tried to catch it, tank slapper. My bad, y'all. Something happened back there, though, so we're not immune to it. No one's immune to it. Oh, and then I think these people had pit line penalties. They just crossed that line, come into the pits. Saw the same thing happen to that pink GTR there. That same exact snap. Big break. So who was that? Oh, Verstappen from Canada. So this is a weird one. This is a very weird one. But you see how it happens. They just got on the gas a little too soon. Medium tires weren't holding. They're already worn out. And then he's trying to correct it. Something to recover. Spins out again. Rough. And I've been there before. It's that's a tough one to check yourself from. But good on him, stuck in it. Anyways, I'm up in fourth. See, the top two are in the pits now. And Crimson has not come in yet. It was kind of close on the pit exit. They both were not super far away. And I would venture so far as to say they gained time. I lost time on that pit stop. But also, like, obviously, I spun the F out on Degner 2 on the previous lap. So, of course I lost time. Like, that went without saying. Luckily, I had enough buffer to cover it off. So, small mistakes, big results, shit happens. I do feel like I'm yawning less, but I'm not certain I'm going to go for a full 2 hours on this. And then as far as the actual race itself, we know we're in the net lead because I think it's a required tire change race, and Crimson Wolf still has not hit it. Could be wrong. Because, like, looking at this statistically, the medium tires are going to make it to the end. The medium tires would easily make it to the end of the race, but I think that we had to make the change. You could obviously see how much better the softs were performing. So to go 7 laps on the softs and 8 on the mediums, that's not bad, with it being a required change. So before all that stuff happened, we had a very interesting battle for 6 going on. We still have a very interesting battle for 6 going on. Let's go ahead and check back in on that. also see with Mogoyeon, they're using stability management. And it's like, that's okay, but like it's also not the best. I feel like stability management slows you down quite a bit. But yeah, and they're keeping it line astern, like there's no battling going on in this little pack right here. And unfortunately, I think with these cars, it is a little bit tough to really close that deficit unless you just got it like that, you know? Oh, yep, you gotta be careful with that. So let's take a quick look at what happened there. And just sometimes you get a little overzealous on the exit. Bad. So hard on the brakes, being careful. But what they were trying to do is they were trying to prevent oversteer by keeping it in second. Got a bunch of understeer by keeping it in second. Even though they didn't mat the throttle, they just got back in it kind of early, so it sucks. And then, oh, that was an interesting one. So here, like, this one's interesting because you remember what I was saying about how you're not braking for turn 1, you're braking for turn 2. And the car doesn't like it when you brake and turn at the same time. And what did they do there? They were on the brakes and turned at the same time. So pause. You can see they're on the brakes now. And the nose of the car is not pointed on the trajectory that it needs to be to go into turn 2. Like, it'll make turn 1, maybe, but he's on the brakes. You have to get the car to the point where it's going to make turn 1, and then you're hard on the brakes. They are not at the point where the car is going to make turn 1. And understeer, 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 understeer. Hard on the brakes, full brakes, a little bit of steering in it. And then lifts out of the brake to try and get that rotation. The car kind of gets real snappy. But guess what? The front end catches grip first. And you know what happens? More understeer. And then they're hard on the brakes again. What does that mean? Even more understeer. And they're getting the car slowed down to a point where it's starting to be able to make the corner and turn. But it's not quite enough, and their brake pressure still has not relented. So they're coming out, they're coming out, they're coming out. Even though the car's it's been slowing down the entire time. It's not like they're not slowing down, you know? Like, we're telling them, oh, you took that corner too fast, you need to slow down. They're slowing down. That's not the issue. The issue is that they're still on the brake pedal. That's been the issue. Like, they're going to need to slow down more before turn 2 if they want to make that. But they've got, like, from this position, if their trajectory was correct, they'd be fine. They'd have enough room to make that slowdown happen. But the issue is, they've got their steering wheel cocked all the way to the right, and they've got the brakes on. And the car is not able to respond. Dips onto the Astro. What happens when you dip onto the Astro, chat? Not good things. Not good things happen. Car wants to slide out, you have significantly less grip. All the above. Looks dope though, like that's a money shot right there. And see just how out of shape the car gets. Driver is still steering to the right. Good on him. And just about holds it together. So good save, but like all of that was just brakes and steering at the same time. Something happened at Degner 1 or something. I don't even know what was going on. Let's get the instant replay on that one. Okay, so that started way earlier. Someone got overzealous. P6, I believe. Just trying to maintain, goes out wide, grass gets him. And it's tough because like a lot of these are huge high commitment corners in these cars. You got a lot of downforce. So they're just moving slow. Weird rejoin. Wasn't terrible though. No one died. Nothing crazy happened. Also has another very, very close call on the exit of Degner 2. Degner 2 is a killer. That's what we call in the industry a killer. And then goes out in the marbles on Dunlop. So definitely a very frustrating series of events. And like sometimes that's you, and you just gotta either keep on trucking or you just gotta get to keep on trucking or get to ducking. Still going on. Still the drama. Still my beating heart. So what I missed what happened there between these two. Oh, okay. So Pink GTR goes off at Spoon 1, rejoins as this guy's coming back on. And then he gets a 3-second because technically he tagged him and the Pink GTR went off again. It's a very weird series of events. No, actually, if you look at it empirically, didn't even go off. Didn't even go off. That was all just that was a contact penalty. So you didn't bump him off. Just bumped him out of the way. That was it. Sorry, spent a lot of time on lap 11. And that's the thing. You can have a great race, and one thing can go wrong, and it'll go down the toilet. Anyways, I'm gonna go to this battle for second. Kind of close. Yeah, and yeah, the trouble is that like sometimes when you have these replay saves, they don't have the best connection, and thereby the physics look really, really wonky. You have AKA Hemi here. So yeah, they're in the throes of it. And like you can tell that P3 is definitely in the wheel tracks of P2, and you have the slipstream also as well. So this is a good time to just try and set up something. Anything. Not to go for a pass necessarily, but like, just get yourself in a position where you can. Because that's where, I would say that they're not in a position now. They're indicating to the right, but they're staying to the left. I think he's telling him pass right, but that's a little vague, and then backs out of it. Hemi backs out, knows that there's nothing doing. Because Hemi's on the softer tire, or the harder tire, excuse me. So he knows that he's at a bit of a performance deficit. Doesn't really feel like playing that game. Though Hemi and I are on the same exact tire strategy, and Hulk here is on the opposite, and is in a position of relative privilege. Like, we obviously have more tire life, they've got the softer tire, so if they can keep that tire performing consistently, they've got the edge. My lap times have not been as fast. Even if on occasion they're close, they've just not been as fast. Ooh, and then they got a little bit of that grass, and that grass tastes bad. Sorry, I'll stop. I promise. But yeah, and I think it's the same thing I was saying as the Red Bull race, with using every bit of the track that you can. You really have to make a point of that if you want to get everything. And like, you're not going to be perfect every single corner, every single lap. But like, the more you try, the more opportunity you have to succeed. But if you don't try, you won't succeed. Simple. I know it sounds cliche, but that's literally life. Very hard to succeed at something you're not trying to do. So yeah, he's trying to set this one up. He's like, I got you. You're in my clutches. I'm in your wheel tracks. Let's dance. You know. Though I can also tell from body language, he's hyper pushing a little bit. Like, he's really like, okay, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. But like, doesn't have the patience to let it come to him, because like, he's clearly faster. He's clearly got the pace on him. I'm doing 51s. He did a 49 that last lap. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. He's got to let it come to him. And you know what he's not doing? Precisely that. Because yeah, like, there's a lot of time lost in those last couple of sectors. Just down to if I'm being real, trying a little too hard. But the other thing that I have is I have a more consistent tire underneath me, so that always helps. But I do remember how I felt after this win. I was like, yeah, I still got it, because I felt like I had fallen off a little bit after GT7 release. Because GT7 felt very different to drive than GT Sport at first. It feels a little closer now, but they do still have their distinctions. Like, GT Sport feels bulky in comparison to GT7, which is very funny to say. Both in the manner of how I'm saying it, but also just like the fact that that's even true. And it's that same kind of thing, just like, you can't take more than 100%. And the tire is just probably not consistent enough for him to really be getting 100% every corner. Whereas for me, I still kind of have a little bit of that underneath. And I got a little bit more fuel to kind of coast on. Anyways, this one's spaced out a little bit. Let's see this battle for fourth. As it starts to get dark. GTR's got less tire available to him. A lot less tire available to him. And a little less fuel. So yeah, if I were them, now is the time to set up that run. Now's the time to do it. Ooh, yep, had to lift out. Had to lift out, that was what got it. Was that an int spin, or or am I tripping? Okay, it was an int spin. Alright, cool. Just making sure. Just double checking. And yep, that was a close finish though. Oof. Oof. To drop 2 from there. Like, he had an opportunity to even get up to 8th, and then you're going to settle for 11th. At the end of that one. Heck. 12th ain't even that far away. Anyway, that's about the race done, so we'll go ahead and X out. So I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it be there. I am still feeling kind of tired, and also you can see like all of the ambient light has started to leave. Like the screen is lighting up the room now, so I'm chill, I'm good. So I think I'm going to go ahead and close out there. Add that one to the collection. And I'm going to delete that replay. Not that, and that one was not a what's it called? That was not a boring race, but it was one that like I don't still need to keep it, you know? Like it was significant because it was like my first GTWS win on GT7, I think. I want to say it was. But like I don't need to keep that, you know? Like it is not serving me in that way, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Just kind of is what it is. Anyways, I don't really have a whole lot in the way of friends on right now, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and just close out the stream. But thank you guys for tuning in, and being here. For those of you guys who want to come and catch some more, there'll be some more racing going on next week once we get some stuff settled up. I'm going to be making some adjustments to the sim rig, which is part of why I'm not racing today, but also partially just because there's so much other stuff going on. And I've just been tired. Like, if you were here for the first part of the stream, I was literally yawning for the entire first 40 minutes, like non-stop. And I'm still feeling it. I just try to take some pick-me-ups. But yeah, you guys, I hope you take